guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
It's a scoop session Thursday. It's a reckless speculation Thursday, perhaps. Here on Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd. We bring in our guy, Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department every Tuesday and Thursday.
Happy
And
Reckless
Doogs.
Speculation Thursday. Phil, hope you're okay. Stung by a bee. I'm still trying to get the visualization out of my head. So you guys
dude, it was a
taped
battle.
Royce Unchained right before this. Patrick getting chased by bees, whenever that was. I didn't hear exactly when, many years ago, but still. I'm just trying to get that visualization out of my head of Patrick running away from a bunch of hornets.
Man, I was in a tussle this morning. I was walking the dog.
But you won. Yeah, congratulations.
But it was delayed because I got stung behind. It's the first time in 30 years I've been stung. And it's still pretty sore now. I'm not like allergic, but it's definitely going to be a problem here for a couple days. But we finished the walk. And we grind through it, get a couple potties, go back in the house, and I kind of adjust the hood on my sweatshirt as I'm going in the house. And the bee was still alive. So I kind of swatted at it. I must have stunned it. It fell into the hood of my sweatshirt. I walk in the house. This is 20 minutes later, and it comes back to life on me. And we're battling, we're tussling. I took the sweatshirt off and threw it on the ground, and I think it got caught up in the sweatshirt. So then, the next part of this explanation is going to be graphic. So beware, children and PETA. I took my shoe off and just basically went in every possible place on the sweatshirt, and I won the battle in the end. But yeah, it was quite the morning here for the Mackeys.
Phil 1, B 0. Was Mrs. Mackey anywhere around to capture?
No, she had taken off
tussle on
for
video.
work.
The B scored the first goal, so let's not sell the B short.
Well, are we sure,
it
though?
got him first.
Are we sure, A, you were stung, and B, it was that particular bee?
Phil, you sure you were stung?
Very much
Fake
stung.
news.
Yeah, very much stung.
Typical fake news on Score North.
Yeah,
because
very much
typically,
stung.
am I wrong? Typically, when a bee stings,
Not every
the bee then passes, but not every bee?
Yeah, it might have maybe
discuss this.
It might have been a wasp. Right. Not sure. Some types of bees die instantly when they sting somebody. Wow. Others live to tell about it.
Get to the bottom of
fight
this,
you on
damn
the way
it.
back. So
I'll tell you what, though,
anyways.
it's bee season. There are bees everywhere. Watching Drew Geese spin 4 1/3 scoreless at Rich Valley Athletic Complex in Inver Grove Heights on Sunday. Bees galore.
Using the trap.
Level 5. Good guy.
So,
Take him out.
well,
All right.
so I'm on the injury report for Score North here today. I think I'm limited, but I will be playing. Andrew Van Ginkel did not practice on Wednesday, and he's listed as having a foot injury, which is the foot is what derailed the end of his season with Miami last year and kind of delayed his offseason work. Talk me off the ledge, man. That's my guy, Andrew Van Ginkel here. These guys were not believers in Van Ginkel until the pick 6 in week 1, Doogie. I mean, what's our level of panic? Judd, you were there at practice too.
He should be everyone's guy coming off that performance against the Giants. Clearly he likes to play New York, right? I mean, his best game last year came against Daniel Jones and the Giants. Judd, I have not heard anything to lead me to think that he won't play on Sunday. That everything should be okay. Like Jordan Addison, we touched on him on Tuesday. No surprise that he did not practice on Wednesday. Hard for me to continue to see Addison in on Sunday, like same theme as Tuesday when we chatted. Yeah. On Van Ginkel, I've not heard anything to make me think that he won't be out there trying to derail Brock Purdy.
So O'Connell at his press conference, which I went to yesterday, brought up Addison off the hop and said, he's going to be inside getting treatment. He said, we'll wait and see. But Dukes, I'm with you. I don't think he plays, which is probably the smart thing for the long term. But on Van Ginkel, so Van Ginkel was pulled out of Sunday's game early, and O'Connell gave an update on Sunday and said he should be fine. It was just precaution. Now, O'Connell in the press conference didn't mention him, and then he shows up as a DNP on the injury report. So I guess from my experience, what I would urge is today becomes very important. Because a coach, if he doesn't talk about him and then the guy does not practice, that ordinarily means I don't want to talk about it too much. He might be fine, but I think today is absolutely key because keep in mind the 2 preparation days are Wednesday and Thursday. And just as importantly, the the Liz Frank is a big deal. Like that's not a simple, that's a big deal potentially. So I'm a little bit concerned, but if he practices today, even in a limited capacity, I'll feel much more comfortable that this is just more precautionary with the foot and not something that he aggravated, for instance, on the turf at MetLife Stadium Sunday.
I will tell you that they thought he would be back at least by the mandatory minicamp in June, if not sooner, and it lingered. And I just wonder, I mean, there are many tricky injuries, but is this one of those injuries? Like, I haven't heard it's the other foot, like with Jordan Addison, we get it. It's not the ankle that he injured in Brea, Ohio on August 14th. It's the other ankle, but I've not heard, like with Van Ginkel, it's the other foot or anything like that. So that's just one of those injuries where you wonder if it can linger for a while, it can, recur and all that, right? So worth keeping an eye on. And yes, I mean, today is the key day. What does he do? Does he do anything? If he does anything today, but I'm just telling you, based on my own information, like I'm not ready. You asked Phil, like, is it time to panic? Should we push the panic button?
I'm panicking.
I don't have info for you to push that panic button.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Harrison Phillips' new contract. Can we let's talk more about that and what that means? So was there, because it kind of felt like for a while maybe he's a guy that they could move on from as they're retooling this defense, but that's a position group that really only has one known commodity, and it's Harrison Phillips, and then it's a bunch of guys who, a couple veterans and then some undrafted players. But just your thoughts and what you've heard about Harrison Phillips now that he's going to be a Viking for a couple more years.
Yeah, not overly surprised. So in this space last Thursday, Reckless Speculation Thursday on September 5th, we led with some Mike Zimmer chatter, but then we got into any update on the Cam Bynum extension talks. I said, hey, yeah, there's been dialogue, so never say never, but it doesn't seem like anything will get done until kickoff. But then I said, hey, if there's any other player where something gets worked out, keep an eye on Harrison Phillips. And so I'm not overly shocked. I mean, this is very much on the Vikings' terms. Like, I think he could have made more money waiting until March, but there is something to be said about how much his wife love it here. His footprint in the community. You think about Walter Payton, Man of the Year last year. That matters a ton to him. Plus, the money is solid. So you think about injury risk, right? If he gets hurt in the next handful of weeks, okay, then he doesn't cash out in March. And so he was always a candidate. Like, Phil, they would do a lot of extensions on their terms. Cam Bynum would be done right now. Like, there's been chatter, right? Cam Bynum would be done right now if they could have gotten it done on their terms. But if you're Cam, if you're his representation, we've touched on this. Look at how the safety market exploded last March. McKinney to Green Bay, some other examples. And so if you're Cam with the cap going up, there's no reason to sign an extension now. Now, I get a day 3 draft pick, but he's got the escalator. He is making good base money this year, over $3 million. So Cam can wait, right? He's got youth on his side for the most part. For Phillips, this is his, third contract. For Bynum, we're talking about a second contract. But I'm just saying, like, Cam Bynum would be done. Now, I've not heard much on Byron Murphy Jr., another relatively key player in a contract year. But there was a reason why I volunteered the name Harrison Phillips last Thursday. I wasn't sure it would get done, but I just knew how much he loves it here and how much the Vikings love him.
I'm not quite sure on this Reckless Speculation Thursday. I think that beyond the bottom of the depth chart, Dukes, the cornerback room might be remade. Like they could, because they're gonna have enough cap space to pursue guys. And they did a pretty good job of addressing, with Grenard and Van Ginkel in free agency, the rush ends this year. I would not be surprised if they target a cornerback and draft one. And then, keep in mind, Mekhi Blackman's back, and an ACL in 2024 is not some career devastating thing, right? So I'm really not going to be surprised if that cornerback room, Shaq Griffin, 1-year contract, correct?
It is.
Murphy at the end of his contract. Gilmore, 1 year. if we see 3 different starting corners next year. And if McLaughlin, you guys, continues to progress. So, like, that's the one thing to keep in mind. This team finally has cap space. It's been so long, I think we forget about that. We're like, well, they're cap strapped. They actually aren't. So that's one room I think we could see a makeover that starts at the very, very top, the cornerback room too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'll continue to think interior of the defensive line, even after the Harrison Phillips move, just based on them having so much interest in Christian Wilkins back in March. You think about, right guard, perhaps center, Garrett Bradbury in a contract year. But yes, certainly cornerback. Like them going all in on one of the top free agent cornerbacks in March would not surprise me. Them then drafting a cornerback in the first round next April would not surprise me. I'm just saying, though, if you're wondering on Byron Murphy, I just haven't heard that. I'm not necessarily ruling it out. I haven't heard that. But Phillips, very little to no surprise. And on Bynum, I mean, there's been enough chatter, but there just hasn't been momentum on that getting to the finish line.
Yeah. Can I say something else too? We had a guest listener predictor on Write That Down nail a 3-item parlay. It was our guy Cooper. I think it was Cooper Carlson who nailed that the first Vikings interception, touchdown, and what was the other one? Some other like milestone would be from Vikings that weren't on the roster last year. And Aaron Jones had the first touchdown. If you look around the NFL in week 1, Joe Mixon, new team with the Texans, 159 yards, just a bell cow, 159 and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley with his new team, 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards on the ground. Aaron Jones, just ridiculous. We have gone way too far in football painting running backs as these replaceable cogs that you can just go get a random guy in the 4th round. The fact that you can get Aaron Jones for a few $1 million in free agency, and it's like kind of a 3rd headline during, the middle of March. There are damn good running backs that are just hitting the market now for $6, $7, maybe $10 million, short-term deals that you can get out from under. We've gone way too far painting running backs, Dukes and Judd and Dex, as just random dudes you can sub in and out. It doesn't really matter.
I'm with you. Hopefully there's a resurgence when it comes to the running back market. I still think Josh Jacobs will have a productive year in Green Bay. Heck, one of my guys, Alexander Mattison, had some moments in the Raiders opener. So, yes, I'm with you on that. Like, even think about Hard Knocks, Judd, right? Where Mara, however you say it, the Giants owner, like, he really wanted Saquon back. And Joe Shane was like, and hey, look at it now. I mean, maybe Devin Singletary turns out to be okay for the Giants, but Saquon still has a few good years left in him.
Saquon is special, though. Whenever I've watched him, especially live, and you can see, like that guy, I would have kept him.
Well, yeah, remember the 22 playoff game.
And he is a Swiss Army knife. Like, he's special. On Jones, I will say this. The one thing that we have to wait and see, and I think the thing that scared the Packers was the fact that I think he's played 7 or 8 years, and he's only played a full complement of games twice. And so I think that's what scared the Packers off. So, like, there's always things with guys wearing down, injuries. But I agree completely. On Saquon, I think the Giants were probably crazy because he is, if nothing else, guess what? Daniel Jones might suck, but you got Saquon Barkley behind you to save the day at times, and the Giants pieced out on him. And Singletary's he's a nice complimentary type of guy, but he ain't no replacement for Saquon Barkley.
But Judd, even on and Barkley's on a different level than Aaron Jones, but if your reasoning for Aaron Jones was, well, he's, he misses 4 games or whatever. Okay, well, so if I get him for 12 games, and in the Vikings case, I get to upgrade from Alexander Mattison to even 12 games of Aaron Jones, and I can just fix that position for a few $1 million. That's insane.
Oh, it's great, yeah.
But I also get, Phil, from a roster building standpoint, that, okay, can you strike gold on an Isaiah Pacheco? Even a Bucky Irving, the former Gopher, who had one really good run for Tampa on Sunday, and I'm not sure that Washington defense is going to be very good the rest of the year, so keep that in mind. But I still think, like, maybe it's not 6th or 7th round, but early day 3, round 4, early round 5. I'm just thinking, like, am I wrong, Judd? Like, I'm thinking, okay, like I get it, like pass rushers, interior defensive linemen, maybe a linebacker, certainly cornerback, wide receiver, quarterback, clearly left tackle, right tackle, maybe even a really good center. But I'm not sure I'm willing to invest like tens of millions. Saquon might be the exception.
Yeah.
Because he is that good. But I'm not sure as I'm building a roster, trying to figure out caponomics, if I'm investing a ton of money in the running back position.
It's a difficult one because, and Jones is a perfect storm. Packers say goodbye. They sign Jacobs to a contract that's more than I think what Jones would have made if they had just kept him. So he's pissed off about that. He comes here on a 1-year contract, which is ideal, right? And he's motivated as hell, and he's still good. But I think where the discussion becomes a little bit more nuanced is this. Okay, so if Aaron Jones, who turns 30 this year at some point, if he has a really good year, well, now he's going to say, hey, how about a 3-year contract? So like this is the shell game, right? Like the shell game of this position is, okay, do you give him a 3-year contract or say, thank you much, take the compensatory pick? It's a really interesting discussion, but yeah, I'm with Phil. I think that the old thing, just cut him. But in the Vikings defense, you guys, on Dalvin, they made the exact right move.
Oh, absolutely, they did.
So,
yeah,
yes.
Coming off a year in which he had like 1,200 yards, and on back of the football card stats looked like, whoa, he's still a 1,000-yard rusher. But you peel back the layers. Yeah, they've actually like had some good instincts on a couple of those players that they've cut bait on.
But Aaron Jones is interesting. So 29, turns 30 early December. So are you investing good money in him for his ages, for the most part, 30 and 31 seasons? So even if he plays well, even if he stays relatively healthy. So you think you can get Aaron Jones back next year at a pretty low number?
Not interested next year.
Right.
I think you could. There's going to be 3 other Aaron Jones on the market.
Yeah, I might be.
That's the game, though.
If I trust Ty Chandler,
yes. Oh yeah.
Then go draft somebody go find your Tajay Spears or whatever. Like go find a guy.
Yep.
But it's just like every year there's 3 or 4. It's not like Aaron Jones is this. Holy crap! They just stumbled in. There's Tony Pollards and Aaron Joneses and Joe Mixons, and they look like 3-year deals, but they're really like 1-year deals when you dig into the bone or into the guarantees.
I'll tell you what though, like Aaron Jones at the podium on Wednesday, speaking up about the Skol chant. Just being as engaging as he is. I mean, he's got media good guy written all over him. I think he's doing everything in his power to think at least, hey, I can be here for beyond one season, that this can be my final home. The way he operates, the way he carries himself, I think he wants to be here for a while.
This is a revenge tour, though, which I love.
Oh, it is.
This is the best revenge tour since Favre. Jennings tried, but he can't throw himself the football. Like that was hopeless, right?
Yeah.
But this is the best. I'm going to show those a-holes in Green Bay how bad they screwed up. So if I'm the Vikings, I love this opportunity for them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, heck, can't wait until September 29th, week 4, Aaron Jones back at Lambeau.
Lambeau leap coming for sure.
Yeah, he's going to...
There was a MetLife Stadium leap.
I know.
After his touchdown.
That's great. Were there Vikings fans, or did he just leap to the first random people that he saw in the corner?
I think there was a Vikings fan. We actually have a good view, and I looked at the video last night, and you're putting me on the spot, Phil, and I can't frickin' remember.
Okay.
I think so, though.
We'll get to the rest of Doogie's scoop bag here. Aaron Jones is on Underdog somewhere, I'm sure.
Yes, he is. I had a nice payday because of Aaron Jones, so thank you to Aaron Jones on Underdog Fantasy. Hey, Thursday Night Football tonight. Dolphins, Bills, Tua, James Cook. I'm going to ride both these guys on Underdog Fantasy. And also, there's the vulture protection on James Cook. So if some other random Bills running back sneaks in a touchdown on the 5-yard line on a 1st and goal, I'm protected. I get that bonus bet back. So I'm going to ride the Tua touchdowns. I'm going to ride the James Cook with the vulture protection. Underdog Fantasy, we've had a bunch of signups, new signups in the first few weeks here of them being back. So you can also join in on the fun. Underdog Fantasy, promo code SCORE gets you a 50% deposit match. Go join Underdog Fantasy. Send us in those pick'em slips. It's a great area. It's a great time to have some fun on. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy.
Do you have Jordan Mason You have protection when Christian McCaffrey doesn't play on Sunday.
You know,
you have some Mason protection.
It's weird. The Vikings-Niners game has been the one, and now they might have updated it because it's Thursday now. That's been the one where they hadn't released many pick'em lines on it because I think they were trying to figure out what's going to happen with him specifically.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure
I don't think he plays.
They probably
I don't have any
Mason.
intel. This is complete reckless speculation. I don't think he plays on Sunday.
Agreed. This is here's a take for you, Dukes. Been floating this the last couple days, but I'll make it official. This is a trap game. This is officially a trap game for the 49ers. Short week. You're traveling West Coast to a Central Time Zone noon game, a place you haven't won in is it 30 years or whatever? It's been a long time. You have the division rival Rams in week 3. So the ingredients for a trap game are usually coming off a big game and then another big game in 2 games and then maybe a travel or schedule thing that throws a wrench in and maybe an injury. And the Niners are checking all of these boxes. The conditions are ripe for a 49ers trap game on Sunday. Fight me.
Well, I mean, the bettors will fight you. A lot of money is in on the Niners. This line may end up at kickoff being 6.5. Something in that ballpark because a lot of early money is on the Niners minus 5.5. Here's where I'll offer a little resistance. I think it's going to be a 1-score game. I lean San Francisco winning. I just think what took place October 23rd of last year, that is fresh in the Niners' minds. And having Debo, having Trent Williams, even if they don't have Christian McCaffrey, I don't know. I think this is a very, very tough matchup for the Vikings where, hey, we'll chat on Tuesday and Thursday of next week. I hope it's not doom and gloom. If the Vikings end up losing by 8 points or even 10 or 14 or even 17, I think it'll be more about the Niners being that good, not an indictment on the Vikings.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I think we're missing from the potential trap game stew here is the identity of the teams. I think I know what San Fran's is. I definitely don't know what the Vikings is yet. The Vikings, because this league is so weird, the Vikings could be good. The Vikings could be horrible. We have no idea. So I prefer my trap games come around November when I've got a good idea. I can point to a team and say, that team's not good, but it's a trap game for them. So that's the one thing is what if the Vikings come out and have success on the ground? I think this, as we talked about on Tuesday, I think one of the key things here is this team is definitely or prides itself on being tougher. And O'Connell actually talked about that. I asked him about that on Wednesday. Did you have training camp like you did for games like this? And he sort of, said, well, yeah, sort of for this. But I just don't know. I don't think we know the Vikings' identity yet. I think we have an idea of what they want it to be. But if it pays itself off, we got no clue. This team could be good, or like you said, Dukes, they could lose by 17, and it's oh, okay, they're not as good as we potentially thought. And a lot of this also comes down to eye test. How do you lose? Do you get your ass kicked physically? Do you actually compete, but you're just not as good, but yet there are positive signs? So I think the next 2 games, from a Vikings perspective, are going to be, and from a fan's perspective, so interesting. Because it's 2 tough games. It's at home, so you've got that going for you. I think San Francisco and Houston are going to tell us a lot about the Vikings' identity.
I'm with you. Now, how do you define, though, identity? Does it have to be on the offensive side of the ball? Or can it be that this team's identity will be that this defense is going to be a top 10 defense?
I think it is.
That they're going to create more turnovers than they did last year. That they're going to allow less yards than they did last year.
I think it's toughness. I think it's toughness up front. Can you run the ball consistently? Identity.
And okay, so that's fair.
Yeah. Like their defense.
Yeah, and we hear the word physical, and what exactly does that mean?
Exactly right.
Physicality.
Physicality. But okay, sure, that needs to play out for a few more weeks. Okay.
Yeah, because I can sit at home here and say, you know what? I'm a really good-looking guy. I could go out and tear it up in the bars. But I get to the bars and I fall flat in my face. Well, my identity, my perceived identity is shot.
That's one good analogy.
Is that what's going to happen? The Vikings
I'm just saying, you have this training camp, you come out and get your ass kicked physically, we're all going to say, hey, that really didn't work as well as we thought it did. Like, what's your identity? That's proven on the field, at the bar. That's where you prove it.
But let's say they do. I'm telling you, how much of that is just the Niners are that freaking good at doing that? That it feeds into what you asked KOC on Wednesday about a more physical camp being for games like this on Sunday.
Right.
That maybe the Vikings just in early September aren't quite to that level, but can eventually get there.
Okay. Yeah.
Dukes, let's go through the rest of your scoop bag here. What else do you have for us on this Reckless Speculation Thursday?
Well, on Saturday at Huntington Bank Stadium, the Gophers against Nevada, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and those San Francisco 49ers will have scouting representation. Byron Buxton back tomorrow, series opener against the Reds. Call me nuts, but having that tiebreaker over the Tigers matters. Mm-hmm. So you look at the standings, it's 3, but it's really 4. I just don't see a scenario where the Twins miss the playoffs. 3 against the Reds still, 3 against the Marlins. I get it. Next week, that will not be easy. 4 in Cleveland, 3 in Boston. What if Boston sweeps you next weekend? Then Boston would have the tiebreaker. Right now, the Twins, 2-1 on Boston. Now, if those two teams finish tied 3-3, it goes to division record. Well, the Twins have the Red Sox on that. So the Twins are just well-positioned. Whatever you think, about the way they've played in the last 3-4 weeks, they are still well-positioned to make the playoffs. The bigger conversation is, okay, come Tuesday, October 1st, game 1, whether in Baltimore or in Houston, or if Seattle somehow catches Houston, do they then have a chance? But to me, the question, Declan, isn't about whether they're going to actually make it.
Yeah, I think that the tiebreakers are huge, and Buck. I watched some of Buxton's at bats yesterday during his BP session. And in general, he's a lot more chipper than he usually is too. And on Monday, he made it clear that, hey, I'm just not going to be 100%, and I have to figure out what pain tolerance that is to play through. I thought maybe they'd hold him out this weekend and be back in the lineup for Cleveland game 1, but clearly he's good to go, ready to rock. And I mean, they have had just horrible production in center field since he's left. Absolutely terrible production. So they need him back. And
I thought, they absolutely need him back, even at 75 or 80%. I thought there was maybe a chance they would send him off to Columbus, get some at-bats.
Yeah.
But, they're like, you know what? He got a number of at-bats against these Cedar Rapids pitchers the last couple of days. He's good to go on Friday. What's the difference? If he goes and gets a few at-bats against Columbus on Friday, Saturday, then meets us in Cleveland on Monday, is that much of a big deal? He just got some at-bats, last week in St. Paul. So, they said, hey, he's good to go. That's why we brought these pitchers up from Cedar Rapids. Let's get him back out there tomorrow.
Question off that. And Dex, you also might know the answer to this one. Are the two main guys, Correa and Buxton, did the Twins decide that a rehab stint didn't make sense, or did the players balk? Because it's interesting to bring up pitchers to pitch to them here, and as veterans, they have the right to decline the assignment too.
Buxton made it clear on Monday he's not going on another rehab.
Okay.
Buxton did himself. He said, I'm not doing another rehab.
But I think the Twins, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Declan. I think the Twins were okay with that.
Yeah.
Just based on him getting whatever it was last week, 6 at-bats in St. Paul, that he's not far removed. I get it. He is far removed from playing in a big league game. What are we talking, August 12th?
Yeah, about a month.
So about a month. But he did get real game at-bats as recently as last week, that they feel like he's not far removed from that they can't just put him back out there. On Correa, he's going to need. I just don't see a scenario where you throw him back out there. The Saints are home next week. Go get him some at-bats in St. Paul next week.
Yeah. I'm not sure what they'll do with him. I mean, I'm kind of aligned with Dukes that 2 months of no baseball activity and movement is probably deems necessary for a rehab assignment, but they also brought up these pitchers from Cedar Rapids.
I know they did.
So
what sort of interesting conversations are taking place? His representation involved. Will he offer some resistance on that? If you're Correa, would you rather join the Twins in Cleveland and in Boston next week? Get in at some point as opposed to that final homestand, Miami, Baltimore. But if you're the Twins, you might be like, hey, let's just see. Even if it's one game in St. Paul, play like next Tuesday, then, hey, you can fly to Cleveland on Wednesday. We can have you for the final 2 games of that series. So I would think the Twins are in favor. Maybe some reckless speculation, but I would imagine, he hasn't played since July 12th, that the Twins are in favor 2 months now of him getting some minor league at-bats, even if it's just a few, getting through a full game, seeing where the pain is, then rejoining the Twins.
Darren Doogie Wolfson, 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department.
Ricky Davis out, the former Timberwolf, out as Minneapolis North boys varsity coach. So he committed to them in the spring that he'd be back. So he's been the head coach the last, year or two, but I'm told he is relocating to Houston. So he put in his
2 weeks
notice, 2 weeks essentially, the other day. So the Minneapolis North boys varsity basketball job is open. Had a nice conversation the other day with Gophers basketball commit Kai Shinholster. Did I bring this up on Tuesday that he told me that James Madison was the school that was toughest to turn down? Okay. And he played through an ankle injury last year. The Gophers lost out on a recruit the other day, Amari Allen, kid from Wisconsin, a wing 6'6", 6'7". He visited, like Kai did, for that North Carolina football game that weekend of August 31st. He committed to Alabama the other day. So I ran it by somebody high up with the Gophers. I said, hey, how much was money a factor in this? The response was yes, definitely one of the factors. Not the entire reason, but certainly one of the reasons why Amari Allen is off to Alabama, didn't choose Minnesota.
Yeah, makes sense. That makes sense.
Yes, it does. Not a surprise.
Yeah. Love it, Dukes. We'll see you next Tuesday, sir. Enjoy
All right,
the
boys.
rest
And
of
how
your
about
week.
this? So tomorrow, Nick Nurse, Philadelphia 76ers head coach, he is hosting an event September 27th, 2 weeks from tomorrow at Paisley Park. He's a big Prince fan, so I'm catching up with Coach Nick Nurse tomorrow to hear about that, but we'll talk some basketball as well, so I can recap that conversation next Tuesday.
Love it, man. That'll be fun. All right, Darren Doogie Wilson, 5
All right, boys.
Eyewitness News Department.
Take it easy.
Some scoops, some reckless speculation here. Minnesota sports with Mackey and Judd.